Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for the opportunity to speak. Firstly, let me commend the Minister of National Security for finally bringing this bill to the House. It has been a long journey. We must commend the many technocrats, interest group, professional association, and the other stakeholders for the many hours spent crafting and researching this bill. There are many people who are of the view that this bill is a cure-all for most of our crime problems, but sadly, it is not so. This bill finally makes it a criminal offense to have parts of a gun if you are not licensed, an illegal matter. This bill brings many of our existing processes into law, and these matters should be praised. Careful reading of the bill also makes it more difficult for law-abiding citizens to get a gun license. And Madam, I, of course, object to that. And Madam Speaker, I also object to Section 87 of the bill and would want to see it amended, where it removes from the minister the power to hear an appeal from an ordinary citizen in case their application is turned down. The power in this country comes from the people, and the people through the ballot box. And the people through the ballot box elect members of parliament who are then appointed ministers by the Prime Minister. To give away that power to some committee that nobody elected or nobody has a way of screening them, to me, is turning our democracy upside down. And I believe the power of appeal to the minister ought to be included in the bill. Madam, making it difficult for the law-abiding citizen is understandable when you examine the circumstances of our crime situation. We average over 1,300 murders per year over the last 10 years. We have a murder rate of 43 per 100,000. 82% of our murders are committed using the gun. And we have a 40% clear-up rate for murders. The investigative capacity of the police, though improved, is still low. Our justice system is slow and overburdened, although improvements have been made and our correctional service is not where it ought to be. There is low trust in our police force and army. Members of the public do not want to give up information nor be witnesses in court. And gangs are growing, lottery scamming, and the resources to arm criminals and corrupt public institutions and officials are real. The number of gangs keeps growing. Gang members and criminals are well armed and seem to have no issue with supplies. Our borders are porous. This bill, Madam Speaker, along with the efforts of this government, is addressing some of these issues, but our public is getting frustrated, and it has been a while that the frustration has been building. And this frustration is building, and you see small expressions of it in the impatience of the public to the perceived slowness of investigations or their interactions with the security forces. We are entering a place, Madam Speaker, where it may be difficult to come back from. We need as a country to craft solutions that are fit for purpose. We need to be bold, innovative, and with practical solutions, taking into account our economic situations and limitations. In crafting solutions, we must more than ever take the wishes and views of the public into consideration. This bill, in certain aspects, addresses some of these concerns of the ordinary citizens, Madam Speaker. This government has sought to treat with the matter of crime in a multifaceted way, because crime is not one-dimensional. And that's why Plan Secure Jamaica and the 5-pillar crime strategies have been rolled out. No one, Madam Speaker, no well-thinking Jamaican will deny that this government has invested more than all other governments in modernizing and improving all aspects of the national security architecture. No other government has invested as much in security over the last 60 years. But many of these investments will take time to bear fruit. Madam Speaker, we did not get to this position overnight. It took us as a country years to get here. The solution is not going to be an overnight one. It's not a quick fix because there's no magic wand to wave. As a society, we must confront some truths and address them. We must unite as a nation against criminals. There must be no divide, no split, no space between us. Law-abiding Jamaicans must unite in this fight against the criminal elements. There is no need for politicking or one-man-upmanship. What will it achieve? It is time to unite. Madam Speaker, the Prime Minister has called for constructive dialogue, a space for consensus. The Leader of Opposition has responded with a mature, statesman-like response. Agree. So, gentlemen, let's cut the sideshows and get on with it. Too much is at stake. It is clear that the firearm bill is a part of the solution. But as I said before, we must be bold, practical, and innovative in crafting fit-for-purpose solutions for Jamaica and our circumstances. I have some suggestions, Madam Speaker, to help to reduce crime along with the firearms bill. Madam Speaker, each political party have agents, members, and supporters across the country in every district, village, town, and city. Madam Speaker, this is the greatest intelligence network in the country, the political network. We must recruit this network from all political parties to help in the fight against crime. If they are good enough to help to elect a government, we must utilize them to help to govern. Madam Speaker, in the governance process, however, you hear that political workers are politically tainted. Of course they are. But election time, those who disappear when there is time for government, but appear when election is over, can't help us. Madam Speaker, when the elections are over, many political operatives abandon their political network and move on into governance and leave the political network out to pasture. Madam Speaker, we must utilize this network in the whole governance arrangement for this country. Madam Speaker, people must not feel excluded from the system. They must feel a part of the system. And it is so bad that we have excluded the political worker that we can't even recommend them to be a JP. They can no longer be recommended to be a member of a school board. But yet when there is time to elect a government, we run to them. But once the election is over, we find that they cannot help us to govern the country. And something is wrong with that. Madam, I think the most Honorable Edward Siaga said it before, that there are two Jamaicas. This practice must stop. We must recruit the political networks, get them motivated and invested in the fight against crime. Madam Speaker, the other solution I have is that it is time for us to arm the society. Any decent law-abiding citizen with a clean police record, no mental issues, or domestic violence conviction should be able to acquire a gun permit within 45 days of applying. Police statistics shows that over the last 10 years, 29 firearm holders have been murdered in Jamaica. 29. In addition, a total of 627 combined major crimes, including shootings, robbery, murder, lastly, have been committed against firearm holders. Madam Speaker, there are 45,000 licensed firearm holders in Jamaica today with 167,000 guns. But remember that persons have multiple licenses, multiple guns, plus there are security companies and gun clubs. There is an average of 30,000 firearm holders over the last 10-year period. Therefore, some 0.09 or 1% of licensed firearm holders have been murdered over a 10-year period, or an average of 0.01 per year. at 627 combined incidents of crime against firearm holders, it shows that only 2% have been affected by crime over the last 10-year period, or an average of 0.2 per year. The figures clearly show that if you are armed, criminals don't mess with you. The criminals have more advanced weapons than the police in many cases. The police and the army are held at bay for hours sometimes in a shootout. Yet we are calling on law-abiding citizens to join the fight against crime. What must they join with, Madam Speaker? Them 2 long hands, 2 stone and a cutlass? And what they must do
about that
with those? Madam Speaker, the long wait for a license sometimes criminalizes the process. Police sources say a used 9mm firearm can be had for $200,000 to $300,000, while the decent law-abiding citizen has to suffer in waiting. It is the long wait sometimes that helps to corrupt the system. We must level the playing field and give the advantage to the law-abiding person. Of course, people will say in objecting that Australia recently disarmed their society and they are okay. But Australia is not confronted by the factors that beset us. They don't have our historic crime rate, nor the amount of high-powered illegal weapons that is everywhere in Jamaica. Disarming works for Australia. It's fit for purpose for them. Let's wish them well and get on with a fit-for-purpose solution for Jamaica's problems. This way, when a criminal is about to break into your house, he has to pause and wonder how many guns are in that house. When they are planning to thief a farmer's crop or animals, they have to wonder if the farmer has a gun and what are the chances of getting shot. We must give back the advantage to the law-abiding citizen. Right now, the criminals have the advantage.
You just attack now.
Some will say if you open up gun license, criminals are going to thief people gun. Madam Speaker, right now, criminals can get bigger and better guns than what the legal system permits. Furthermore, the instances of a licensed gun being used in a crime is almost non-existent. It is time, Madam, to arm the society. Madam Speaker, we must resume hanging without delay. A quick analysis of the murder figures shows that for the 25 years from 1962 to 1987, some 7,447 persons were murdered in Jamaica, or an average of 297 persons per year, or 14.1 murders per 100,000. Madam Speaker, please note that the last hanging in Jamaica was done in February 1988. In the 25 years after 1988, 89 to 2014, some 27,367 persons were murdered, or an average of 1,094 per year. This gives 42 per 100,000. But understand also, Madam Speaker, that the population moved from 1.6 million to 2.8 over 50 years, a 57% increase. The total amount of murder went up by 400%, or 4 times. Please note that in the second 25 years, we saw more access by the population to better education, better health care, counseling, mentoring, and psychological support. Yet, Madam Speaker, the only difference is that we had stopped hanging and we have created a murder factory. It is plain to see, hanging, the statistics show, is fit for purpose for Jamaica. It might not work elsewhere, but this 50-year study has clearly shown that hanging keeps murders low in Jamaica. As a matter of fact, Madam Speaker, we should build 4 more gallows. 1 in the west, 1 on the south coast, 1 on the north coast, and 1 in the east. With 5 gallows, most areas will be within 1 hour of one of them. So as the judge passes sentence, straight to the gallows you go. And you must be hung by your neck until you are dead, 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 or until your teeth kill. If we don't want to hang, remove it from the books. But there is a conspiracy of vested interest not to hang, but they are not bold enough to bring that amendment on the floor of this parliament and remove it. If we don't want to hang, take it off the books. Until it is removed, let us hang them by the neck until they are dead, dead, dead.
I want that
We
drink.
must hang, shoot, inject or electrocute them or remove it from the books. We cannot, Madam Speaker, cherry pick which laws we are to obey. The vast majority of Jamaicans support hanging, yet some powerful and influential people don't want hanging, and we are not obeying the law. Then we wonder why we have a crime problem in this country when we cherry pick which laws to obey. Madam Speaker, let us hang them. Hang them by the neck until they are dead, dead, dead. Madam Speaker, how shall we expect the surviving family members of double murders, triple murders, to continue to work hard, pay their taxes, and use those taxes to mind the dirty criminal in prison who party, frost, and enjoy themselves and wear name brand clothes in prison, while families are destroyed and the survivors have to work, pay them taxes to mind them? No, Madam Speaker. No, Madam Speaker. It cannot be so.
I wish everybody had think like you in the Senate right now.
Remove it from the books. Madam Speaker, let us resolve with every inch of our being, every ounce of our strength, and every fiber of our body that we must make Jamaica a better place.
True.
Under
We
this
all have to
government,
come together and united.
We are committed to bringing prosperity to every corner of Jamaica. We do
Make
that,
the
Madam
citizens of
Speaker, so
Jamaica
that
choose
Jamaica
if they
can
want a
play her
licensed
part
firearm or
in the
not.
advancing
Give it
of
to
the
them.
welfare of the whole
Make it
human
affordable for
race.
them.
Madam Speaker, I ask that the minister take into consideration an amendment to Section 86 of the existing bill. If he could be so kind, I would have absolutely no problem in supporting this bill. Thank you, Madam Speaker.